As motor cars brought speed and mobility, our 1919 convention paraded in Endicott. Much zeal was needed to overcome certain handicaps in the equipment of the day. No motor fed or ejected cards or drove the punch. She had to stoop to conquer gravity in the vertical sorter. You could call this programming for automatic control. Blank cards were inserted to make the tabulator stop for totals. Pencil copying of totals overcame a lack of printing. Yet this was the most advanced data processing of its day. Central to company philosophy was the idea that the individual deserved respect, regardless of occupation. In 1920, an executive school convened, with the Watson family in attendance. Interchange of information was the reason for such meetings. But light-hearted activities were part of the conventions too. All departments contributed. Flower girls welcomed the arrivals. In 1924, CTR became IBM. The first 100% Club met in Atlantic City, where we had a new showroom. And the first quarter-century club gathered there too. In those days, all IBM executives could assemble in a single room to map advertising strategy. The home office was not exactly glamorous, but the spirit was there. By now, we had numerical printers and proudly used them in our own installation. Further expansion abroad was celebrated in London, part of our growing internationalism. While we congratulated ourselves for over 400 products in the line, meat choppers, clocks, and scales were dominant. The tabulating salesman didn't have much to boast about. But advanced schooling was ensuring the spread of the business. In 1929, a whole busload of students arrived at sales school. They visited the factory and plugged away far into the night, learning about the products and methods. Word of such development was carried abroad by the Watson family. They visited the French organization at Vincennes. In France, installers were delivered right along with the machines. Despite severe economic depression, we continued to press forward. New products were introduced at conventions. Fall in line could only mean to see the great new alphabetic equipment, which gave new dimensions to data processing. first calculating device was born in the Depression, the 600 multiplier. The stoop had been taken out of sorting. The electric typewriter became an IBM product. A new school building and laboratory assured the spread of our art. Increased sales kept the factories humming. Orders were coming from sales offices hardly distinguishable from the local cigar store. Mr. Watson told a 1937 sales school about opportunities.
I can't come before a group of men in this business, young men, without my mind just automatically going back 23 years. It'll be 23 years the 4th of May since I took charge of this business. At that time, we had 235 employees in all departments of the business throughout the world. And today, we have more than 10,000 people. Now, I mention that because that gives you a little idea of what opportunities men have had in this business. Men who are willing to study, to acquire the necessary education.
Tom Watson, Jr., talking to his sales school the following year, made some predictions.
If the last 25 years may serve as a criterion, then the IBM is predestined to expand in the next 25 years until it surpasses the fondest dreams of us all. The pertinent fact here is that the next 25 years will be for all of us the most productive years of our lives. And what we do will be shaped by what we cause to happen during that time. And that is why I say that ours is a wonderful future, and I urge that all of us do our best.
These predictions proved to be more than justified by later growth. A world headquarters building dedicated to world peace through world trade was opened in New York. Social Security legislation led to the world's largest bookkeeping operation, keeping records for 27 million employees. We could fill the order only because we had continued production and development, regardless of the hard facts of economic depression. By acclamation, Mrs. Watson joined the head table at the 100% Club banquet. T.V. Learson won an award. IBM Day at the New York World's Fair put us in the limelight. Our exhibit attracted large crowds to see the worldwide selection of paintings as well as the equipment on display. Conventions moved to Tent City, Endicott. But then the war intervened. We made camera gun sights. Carbines were also produced. We built a large-scale computer for naval ballistic studies and presented it to Harvard University. conventional equipment traveled in mobile vans with the armies. Dependents of armed service members were paid through special IBM check-writing machines. The war ended. The post-war world found increasing need for figures. We supplied the answers to paperwork problems, and conventions resumed. Production zoomed to supply the demand. In 1948, we dedicated the selective sequence electronic calculator at 590 Madison Avenue. Other new products were introduced at conventions. And the shape of the future was disclosed in the fact that some of these machines were described as electronic. Here were some of the components of early electronic machines: vacuum tube assemblies and printed circuit cards. And our first large-scale electronic computer, the 701, ushered us into the electronic data processing era. In 1954, Mr. and Mrs. Watson were honored at banquets held simultaneously throughout IBM. As Mr. Lamott so aptly put it, tablecloths were linked around the world in heartfelt tribute. By now, mass production of computers was underway in our plants. The first 702 was soon installed. With the approval of Tom Watson, Red Lamott, and Al Williams, new plant capacity was carefully planned. The plans materialized in new construction, an expansion pattern that has continued through the years. Esoteric uses of computers included the deciphering of the Dead Sea Scrolls. In a more pragmatic effort to solve data processing problems, a new technique, disk storage, was developed and led to the RAMAC. Coast Guard life-saving was only one of the human benefits to accrue from new computer approaches. The random access principle was also applied to the 650, a moderate-sized machine known as the workhorse computer through its wide application. Continued development led to the 7000 series, employing solid-state devices and reducing computer size while increasing capacity and speed. Special systems, airline reservations for example, reflected new industry demands. Conventions were now gatherings of professionals who interchanged their special knowledge of products and services. These services included improving poultry stock. We undertook numerical control of machine tools. Systems were developed to aid in the nation's defense. Police work was assisted by computers. Design of aircraft was another new application. Satellite tracking took us into the skies. Meanwhile, back in the labs, fundamental research continued for ways to improve the product. And the public became more familiar with the computer through the scoring of Olympic Games. IBM was featured in election night forecasting and reporting. Computers assisted stockbrokers, who got trading information by a voice from the computer. And man's adventures in space needed computers to collect instrument data and to aid in flight control. Collection of information throughout a plant was a more down-to-earth problem that found solution. As never before, industry and application specialization made for better service to customers in ever-widening fields. Professionalism and planning became the watchwords that brought triumph over increased complexity. Out of the crucible of science, new computer technology was born. The third generation of computers was upon us. On April 7, 1964, Tom Watson introduced the System 360 at Poughkeepsie. He stressed that it was the most important product announcement in company history. Electronic devices so small that many thousands could fit in a thimble helped introduce this new age. And bigger capacity at lower cost grew from the smallness of the components and the architectural concept of the equipment. Highly automated component manufacture gave reality to the goal of miniaturization. This was not a single product, but a series designed to range over a wide variety of customer needs. The success of the 360 has surpassed all expectations. The New York World's Fair was another 1964 notable event. Our people gathered for IBM Day in celebration of 50 years of progress. President Eisenhower, with Tom and Dick Watson, enjoyed the ceremonies and helped to mark the great day. New products continue to expand our services and capabilities. There is no standing still in this business. Information retrieval and new storage methods are part of the challenge. Space exploration is expanding the universe, with ground computers linked with those in the spaceship to bring about pinpoint landings. And our new abilities, such as the recognition of hand-printed numbers, expand the IBM world. Display stations, decentralizing inquiry and output, for instance, are making the computer available to many more users. Ways to aid mankind are abundant in medical services alone. programming requirements by themselves are enough to open up thousands of careers. The laser may well establish entirely new fields. And we can assist in the control of stream and air pollution. The working of the human eye is under computer study. Scientific computing even covers the optic system of the common fly. The control of chemical plants, building better highways, helping children learn, are all within the scope of the computer. And research goes on to bring us better equipment for reducing the paperwork mountain. We can help build a better world. In so doing, a better IBM for all of us is assured.